Y'all, we talked about it. This is actually happening. NBC just lined up a nuclear weapon from orbit, pulled the trigger, and just obliterated the far left progressives on national NBC News. I'm telling you, the Democrat Party is unleashing the dogs of war against the far left progressives, and you just need to grab your popcorn. This video is going to blow your mind. Watch the whole thing. Everything will be linked in the description box below. Please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. I'm going to jump straight into this. We have got to analyze this, y'all. I'm telling you, this is something you need to be fully aware of, and they are playing right into your hands. You want to save the country? Watch this. All right, let's get it. NBC, how Democrats missed the mother of all upsets in Tennessee. Watch this.
All right, so a win for Republicans. Matt Van Epps in the 7th District special election in Tennessee. Democrats do keep this in single digits here. It's going to be a 9-point margin, basically, that Afton Ben, the Democrat, loses by. So the way I'm looking at this is this was simultaneously an overperformance for the Democrats and also an underperformance for the Democrats. What could I possibly mean by that? Well, the overperformance is obvious because this is a very Republican district. Typically, Donald Trump won it by 22 points last year. 22-point margin for Trump, as we say, came down to just 9 for Van Epps. So that is a net shift of 13 points in the Democrats' direction in this district. And it happened, this wasn't just really low turnout where there was an excited Democratic base that was kind of disproportionate. This was pretty high turnout in this special election. It was almost 180,000 votes that were cast here. That's more than we've seen in any other special election for the House this year, and that's on par with what you would typically see in a midterm. So for a special election, this was high turnout, and even with that, Democrats were able to do 13 net points better than they did in the presidential race last year.
Okay, that's the setup. I jumped right into it so you can know where he's going, but he said something really key, and you guys have to understand the underlying principles, the deeper underlying current that really is dictating where this is going, okay? He just said they overperformed and they underperformed. Now, how is that possible? Of course, I talked to you about it in this morning in a short. There was 180,000 votes. That's because both sides put a couple $1 million into it. It brought up a momentum. And that is not a change thing because both sides increased their numbers. That is a net, cancel out. Doesn't matter. All right? Now, watch where he goes from here because he's going to nuke the far left in a second. Watch, because this is going to be the fight over the next several months. This is going to be glorious.
That's the Democratic overperformance. Why do I say underperformance too? Because they probably could have done better, and maybe with a different candidate, they could have even won this race. Here's what I mean by that. Afton Bain was a sort of a dream candidate for Republican ad makers because she had staked out some very far left position. She had some very inflammatory rhetoric in the last few years, featured very prominently in media coverage of this race in the Republican campaign against her. And I think it was a tough sell in a lot of this district. So when you
boom, ding, 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 come here. It was a tough sell in a lot of the district. I told you in previous videos, she outperformed herself and Kamala Harris in Nashville in the far left city. Everywhere else was like, yeah, nah, we good, you crazy. Guys, this is Steve Kornacki of NBC News telling the national Democrats on a national stage that the far left progressives chased away voters. They consolidated their deep blue, but they chased away the purple, and you need the purple, you don't need the deep blue. Y'all, I'm telling you, this is happening across the entire nation. Inflammatory rhetoric, far left progressive candidate. Any of these things sound familiar? Stacey Abrams? How about Beto O'Rourke? Zohran Mamdani? Any of these things starting to sound familiar? Afton Bain, AOC, Bernie Sanders? They're doing this to themselves. You have a golden opportunity. All you got to do is grind like you're losing. All right, let's keep on going because there's more. Y'all, let me hear you if you see it. Planes landing in the comments. I'm telling you, we're over the target. Watch this video.
Break down where the results came from last night. Just zoom in right here. You see the one blue area in the district? That's Nashville. Davidson County, that's where Bain is from. She got massive turnout here, and she won by 56 points here. This is the kind of place where the positions she'd staked out in the past really weren't a liability at all. But again, you see the performance she had here, she needed also to make giant gains in places like Williamson County. These are the suburbs, kind of well-to-do suburbs just south of Nashville. Again, this is a very big part of this district in terms of population. And you see Van Epps winning here by 23 points. Compare that to how Williamson County went in the presidential election last year. It was 30. So this was much more modest here. A 30-point Trump win in the presidential election in this part of Williamson County came down, but it only came down by 7 points to a 23-point margin. This is the kind of place, these suburbs in 2016 and 2020, they've been a little lukewarm towards Trump. I think there were voters in.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt it really quickly, but you have to understand this point of what he's making. The whole Democrat narrative, everything about this, where they poured the money in order to say they can prove they can win, and they have the ideas that can take the national to get donations and money dollars to revive their anemic brand. Yeah, in the counties that aren't Nashville, it went from 30 to 23 Trump in a special off-year election. That is nothing. That does not matter. The Democrats poured in $3 million, and they were able to peel away 7% in an off year after the holiday election. Guys, that is negligible. That doesn't exist. That's what he's saying. The swing voters, which he's about to go into, they were turned off by the far left progressive. When these Democrats are going to continue to push the far left progressive in their circles, it's driving away more and more and more people in the middle, and it's going to help Team Red. Okay, watch.
These suburbs, when you look at Trump right now with that sort of anemic approval rating, I think there's some voters in these suburbs who might be open to voting for Democrats, but they weren't open to voting for Bain. She did not get much traction here. If she'd had double-digit improvement in Williamson County, this race would have been closer district-wide. For that matter, up here in Montgomery County, this is where Clarksville is. This is, if there's a swing county in the district, it's this. And again here, Bain loses it by 8 points. This is one Democrats thought if they're going to win this district, they thought they could win Montgomery County. Swing voters here, a lot of them just weren't going to vote for Bain. So again, overall, Democrats get a very good headline out of this race. They get to say they overperformed relative to last year. It's not the first special election where we've seen this. There are continued signs coming out of this of momentum for Democrats heading into the midterm election. The question I have, though, is did they leave votes on the table? Could they have done even better? Could they have even pulled off the mother of all upsets if they had not nominated a candidate who, in some ways, played so readily into the hands of the Republican campaign against her?
Let me translate that out for you. Hey, lefties, you're ruining it for everybody. That's what he just said. I can't help but wonder if a moderate Democrat or a centrist Democrat would have been able to peel away this seat and made the mother of all upsets. The progressive candidate, if you are not following and you don't speak politics and you don't speak media, don't worry, I got you. What the main polling guy at NBC just said was, hey, progressives, you just got your headline, but you lost the potential seat because the swing voters are not down with the psycho crazy that Nashville is. This is going to be played out again and again and again across the entire nation. And you guys being involved and spreading this stuff out makes all the difference because they just nuke them from orbit. And I promise you, they know it. Everything will be linked. I'll see you guys on the next one. I'm Braden. Later.